Oh man.
So
All right.
what are we going to talk about today, Josh? For our first podcast.
Oh boy. I mean, there's like a million things we could talk about. You know what? Why don't we keep it unscripted, keep it on more organic, and start and just say, what's something relevant to us right now as K-pop reactors? So one thing that's happening right now, just as an example, is the strike apocalypse, which
That's right.
most people are aware of. And what's that? What's going on with the strike apocalypse? What's happening?
So with the strike apocalypse, what it seems like it is you have a bunch of YouTubers who, like us, like react to K-pop, but all of a sudden, CJE&M in particular had started removing a lot of these YouTubers' channels because they got more than 3 strikes on videos that were live. So by the time that this happened, a lot of these people already had like many videos that were live videos, and they ended up just getting like a triple strike right away and just getting eliminated. You had some people who were fine but only got 1 strike, but it was really, I'm not even sure if it was that organized in terms of like who got it or what, but you and I kind of avoided that because of our hibernation off YouTube.
Well, there's a couple reasons. I think yeah, we went dark for those couple months the strike apocalypse happened, but I think the bigger thing, and this is my own opinion, I can't prove this, but you and I are partnered with Diet TV, who's owned by CJE&M, so the fact that we're owned or we're partnered by them, they're not going to strike us for content they own, stuff they can claim.
I would agree with you, except for the fact that there was that blurb they put out. I don't have it up right now.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I could even pull it up if you want, but basically what the blurb said was, you still shouldn't react to or use our content if it's live. This like Mama and the Mnet stuff, you shouldn't do that either way. But what's crazy is my friend Fresh Ban, who just wanted to sign up with Diet TV. He got an email from Diet TV. I actually have a screenshot of the email that he got sent by Diet TV.
They can't see it, but that's okay.
That's okay. I can read it. I can read it right here. But it was I will. It was just interesting. It has the regular stuff in the beginning, like, thank you for expressing your interest in Diet TV. But it goes down, and at the bottom, it says something really interesting because a while ago, a year and a half ago when I joined, it did not say this in the email of the introduction.
I don't think it said it for me either.
But now it says it. It says at the very bottom here of this paragraph, it says, and I can put up a screenshot if we wanted, but it says the biggest perk that we have for for your channel particularly is the copyright issue. Since CJE&M contains TVN, OCN, and other channels that contain many different songs and OSTs, by making a partnership with our company, we could clear you of any copyright issues, blah, 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 and he goes on.
Right.
So I know this to be true because of, we've done projects like Cover Me, which is through CJE&M, and they asked their creators they're partnered with, like you and me, to do a reaction to a new song that they're releasing, and they clear it for us.
Gotcha.
I think that they're not gonna strike us.
I agree. I don't think they'll strike us, but what I think it is it wasn't the problem of reacting to copywritten videos or anything like that. What it came to was what's known as portrait rights. And that's where things get a little fuzzy because, Josh, you remember when we were at KCON and I pulled out my camera, and it's not like a phone camera. It has like an adjustable view, zoom in. This one guy, who probably was also like half on a power trip, singled me out and told me to like put my camera away. But another reason is the what's known as portrait rights, and that's like these K-pop idols try to have like their face preserved and kept in like a good light where they don't want anybody to zoom in too close and see any blemishes. So I'm not sure how far off it is from like reacting to these live shows that are owned, how strong these portrait rights affect them. Because technically, since the portrait rights aren't under CJE&M, it leads to this weird battleground where I think CJE&M can get in trouble if they see any music videos that, not the music videos, but like the live versions of music videos. So they just marked it down, not on their own whim. For partners like us, we may have gotten a mulligan where they don't necessarily strike us off, but it's not the best thing to do. But I'm not sure. I think you're right, though, that we're protected even with that because we're partners. But I think it's just the portrait rights that really make it annoying.
That's a good point.
Else.
I didn't know anything about portrait rights, and
Yeah.
that's a good point. And I can't prove that we're quote unquote protected. That's just my opinion. But I think a couple pieces of information that we left out for anyone that's just unfamiliar with this is that there's different ways to claim someone's video for your content. Like if I'm SM Entertainment and I saw that someone used my artist's content, someone's using EXO's song, they can go and manually flag your video if it didn't get detected when audio was scanned by YouTube when you're first uploading it, which is every video. Every one of these copyrights we're talking about are part of a manual flagging spree. Someone, an actual person, went and manually flagged these videos, likely through CJE&M, and they claimed these videos for copyright material, and they were the only thing they had in common were they were all live performances. It wasn't that they were reacting live, it's that the performances were live, like Mama or Mnet or M Countdown, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and it kind of leads further to it, just like by the fact that in any of the the reality shows you see with the K-pop idols, anytime, most of the time, like a K-pop idol is making like a really unflattering face, like as any human does, they'll blur it out. Like I'm not sure if it was BTS or EXO, but they went on a roller coaster ride. It may have been BTS, and on certain spots where like anybody else would look like a complete like face made of like Play-Doh, they blur it out. They put like a little thing right over their face.
Did they really? I didn't.
Yes,
I don't
they
remember
did.
that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they do that, and I think there's like a limit because it like. For example, if it was BTS, everybody knows J-Hope makes like hilarious faces. He's like a goof.
Exactly.
But there are things like when you're on a roller coaster and all of your flesh is being like pulled back from the speeds. It's
That's
like,
hilarious.
okay, well, nobody can look good in that. Everybody's laughing because it looks goofy and it wasn't forced. Like when J-Hope forces his goofy faces, that's on him.
Right.
Man,
right.
These copyrights are scary. Josh, how can we become Korean? Is there like a 5 steps video so we don't have to worry as much?
That was a topic change. We're talking, how do we become Korean?
No, it was just a reference. Like, it seems that we should just become Korean and be K-pop idols ourselves instead of reacting to live things.
And then do we strike everyone else who uses our songs?
Exactly. That's the way. It's the circle of life.
The circle of what? Why don't we break the cycle and just end that? No. It makes sense. And they can do that. It's an annoying thing to have happen to you, especially with these channels who have never gotten a strike for years, like Dre. And then all of a sudden he gets his very first strike on something like this. It just, without warning, it didn't make sense. And some of these channels, they got completely deleted overnight.
Oh, yeah.
They just woke up one day and
like,
they got 3 in a row. Their channel is gone. Everything they put into that is gone. They try to get their channel back. They weren't able to, most of them. I think someone might have, but who knows?
Yeah. And you know what? I've always been annoyed of that system on YouTube. Like, I get it. I get that if you have a copywritten video, it should be flagged. That makes sense. But to me, it like, let's just lay this out. Say you and I are unfamiliar with the copyright law and we upload a video and it doesn't get flagged like a live video. We do it again because, well, why would we stop if there's no penalty for it? There's no indicator. Then you do it a third time. Okay, still no penalty. But then let's say 2 years down the line or a year down the line, you do you're not even working with live videos. But now if this flagging system happened, because you had those 3 live videos, you'd immediately get your channel taken down. To me, it should be, it should happen in 2 ways. You either get it taken down immediately, you get a strike immediately when you upload, or if you upload multiple offenses and then they all get caught at once, it should be just counted as one. Because a lot of our YouTuber friends and some of these people who did get like these flags, if they got one flag that was like, here's all the videos that you got flagged for because we didn't catch them, do you really think they would react to more live videos? No. If they saw that there was a penalty, they would stop. And of course, now that they know, if they reacted to one more and they got flagged, well, then it's like, okay, now, just buy. But
right.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, there should be some way of saying, okay, if you catch a flag if you flag a video more than even like 48 hours after a video was uploaded, all of them are aggregate as one or something like that.
Well, yeah, and like you just said, the key word is there should be a system like that, but there isn't.
No,
YouTube is still the
business.
main video platform. It's still evolving and developing quickly every day.
Yeah.
And if someone made an offense in real life, like they ran a red light, or let's just say they took a right on red, and they came from a state where that was okay, and they went to a state where it wasn't. If they did that 3 times in a row, and a cop was following them, he just gives them 3 different tickets. He could. It's within his legal jurisdiction and his right as an officer to give that person 3 tickets. Or he could say, you know, I understand your situation. You had no idea, so I'm just going to write you 1 ticket for all those illegal turns. You know, it's just, so that's the nicer thing to do. That makes more sense logically, but they don't have to.
Oh no, you're completely right, and we have to realize that it's not like that. This cop had like the traffic industry or the traffic light makers and the DMV behind him. Like, are you sure you want to do that? You know, like what happens with YouTube is you have these advertisers, and then they see that they're advertising on videos that are potentially copywritten. That's just bad branding. You don't want to advertise on things that are illegal, and technically, we're breaking copyright if companies see it. So they're basically just trying to say, get these flagged, make the people who give us the money happy, and just shelve it. You know, what's one tiny YouTuber to them in the grand scheme of things? Now, if they were bigger, like, you know, even larger than Dre, I'm saying like some of the bigger YouTubers, I've seen mulligans occur, like with Logan Paul. Like mulligans as in they kind of go against what their traditional protocol is. Like, for example, Logan Paul has done some really controversial stuff, and he got a slap on the wrist. But he's still going to come back even though they cut his advertising. His channel's still there because obviously if they didn't delete it, that means that they're still trying to get revenue because YouTube gets a huge cut of his advertising.
Well, there
revenue.
you go.
And that exactly.
I feel like everything we talk about, we could say, how do you follow the money to where this came from? Because the fact that this happened now is significant because why didn't it happen a year ago or a year from now? The timing is key. Things don't just happen spontaneously.
Not in the
business.
No.
Which you know very well. And you and I have both spent a few years in business and various corporate cultures, and we understand at least some of the behind the scenes on the way that these corporations work. And most things are reactive. Yeah. So there was an instance, and you could come up with any hypothetical. You could say, they said, why is it that like all of our content's being used and we're not going after these creators? And someone said, fine, I'll go do it. And they felt bad and they felt pressure because they weren't doing their job because that was part of their job description. Or they could say, we need funding for Diet TV. We're leaking like a sinking ship, and we poured in money with marketing. We poured in money to these advertisers and to bringing on MCNs like you and I to partner with them. And the whole idea is they get enough people and they're taking a portion of our revenue, and eventually they are making a really strong revenue stream from that. Yep. But if they aren't and it's still in the red, they got to find other ways to plug those holes.
Well, what's really interesting too, and yeah, I think we're going on a little bit of like a business lesson here for some people, but it's sometimes even beyond if you're doing well overall or poorly overall. Like, for example, if CJE&M just in that fiscal quarter was getting pressured by companies that are invested in CJE&M, like, you have to stop this this copyright problem because it diminishes CJE&M's value, and just that alone will set them off. But you know that better than I.
Something happened that triggered it, and then someone or multiple people went along the lines and then just said, I'm gonna find everyone on YouTube who has reacted to this specific type of video.
Exactly.
And then he striked everyone. Yeah. So that's what happened. Or, not us, but...
Well, yeah, but all it really does is now it puts everybody who was a reactor, it makes them very uncertain. Because, now we know music videos are fine, but what else? Like, are we just limited to music videos? You have a lot of reactors who base a lot of their videos on, say, they're just BTS-centric or they're EXO-centric. Right. And they try to do these like reality shows, and now they've just lost a whole part of their interaction.
That's what's happening. And I feel like those are the most dangerous channels. They're the most likely to get deleted, are the ones just reacting to reality shows or episodes of Running Man or whatever. Exactly. That's what's going to get you deleted. Anyone who's been a YouTube music reactor for any period of time know that there is a risk with using other people's copyrighted content. But we know in our specific niche of K-pop that as long as you stay only in music videos, and that's purely
Korean
you're
music
fine.
videos.
Korean music videos, then you're fine. If you go into Japanese, you're going to get striked. If you're going to go into Chinese, it could still happen. But if you stay only in K-pop, only in the music videos, then you're okay. And that might not be true. That's just what we've seen, and we've taken that as like a law.
Yeah, so it could be like maybe there's a company, or I'm not sure what the relation of Big Hit Entertainment is with CJE&M. I don't know how they're partnered, but like let's just say one day Big Hit's like, we don't want any of our stuff leaked anywhere else besides our channel, that would destroy every K-pop reactor. That would destroy all of like the K-pop React scene, because of Big Hit is the company of BTS, the largest K-pop group right now in the world, and that could just send shockwaves through it. So
what are you saying? You're saying that if Big Hit decided tomorrow, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'm just trying to figure out what you're.
No problem. So what I'm saying is right now we are just generally thinking that K-pop as a whole is okay, but soon, because of this uncertainty, we may have to start limiting it to which music companies in Korea can we react to.
Right. Yeah,
only
absolutely.
things under, and that's what I meant, is only things under CJE&M. We may not be able to do, say, Big Hit if Big Hit didn't have a deal with them. And then right there, it just gets scarier, because then it's like, well, what about all these like little companies coming out? These are not little companies, these newer boy and girl groups that may not necessarily be from like the biggest company, entertainment company, but they still pose a risk of sending a copyright flag through to your video. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter size. A copyright strike's a copyright strike.
They're allowed to do whatever they want as the copyright owner. When anyone listening to this podcast, if anyone's ever planning on making a YouTube channel or uploading anything onto YouTube, what happens is you have the first upload of your file. When that's 100%, it scans your video for any match of any existing copyright they have in their database.
Yep.
And so if you reacted to an EXO video, it'll scan it. It'll be like, oh, EXO's Wolf. And then they go back into their database and they're like, okay, SM told us that if they ever sense EXO's Wolf and anyone else's video that gets uploaded to YouTube, something happens. And they can decide, as the copyright, SM can decide what will happen if EXO's Wolf appears in anyone else's video. And what SM does, is they make a standard copyright claim, which means ads will appear on your video, but you won't make money, only SM will. And that happens 95% of the time.
I think, and that's kind of a genius move that companies have done, because to them, they're thinking, well, why get rid of this just advertising that people are doing for us? Let's have our video all over the YouTubes and just reap the benefit, which is genius, because everybody's happy. It's this mid-ground. I'm not sure if you're how you feel, but I was just going to switch gears a little bit on kind of a topic we were talking about earlier, because I was just thinking about it as we were discussing this, which was, if we go back to the idols, how much pressure do you think they're in to maintain an image? And when I say maintain an image, I don't mean the way they dress. I don't mean their aura, but just facial expressions, like when they're out in public. Like we were talking about how, I was mentioning how earlier they didn't want to show like those unwilling faces, or like the not flattering faces. And I wondered, do they have certain like directions with, don't make these faces towards fans that you see, don't acknowledge them, don't do anything like that?
I'm positive that there's industry guidelines, and they have a handler, and I use that word loosely. I don't know what the title of that will be. You could say manager, you could say whatever, but there's a person that is managing the group and making sure that they're where they need to be when they're supposed to be there. If they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, making sure no cameras around, blah 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 blah. That's all there. But what matters in a legal sense is what's in their contract, because every group out there, every individual K-pop idol, they signed a contract to be in a group.
Yes, they did.
And in that contract, there's every single little stipulation you can think of. And you said not the way they dress, not what they blah, blah, blah. I think that is the majority of what they're controlling. They're controlling their actual image. But when it comes to facial expressions, I think that's more of a personal choice. But they're definitely encouraged to do certain types of behavior, like not physically approaching fans, or not blah, 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 blah. And there's probably a laundry list of these things that aren't in their contracts, but they're all behaviors they're expected to follow.
Right. I wonder if they have like any clauses which is like, don't raise your eyebrows past 5 centimeters or else you'll give yourself forehead wrinkles.
It's hilarious. I mean, maybe an EXO's slave contract. I don't know, but
I mean, those men look like god darn dolls. Like, doesn't make sense. They look too pretty. They're definitely beautiful men. It's an interesting concept to think about in general, is just stardom. But and it's just like all they've known. Well, it's not all they've known, but for a while, especially a lot of these young guys, they're like, they go through school, then they go into the training boot camps, and then they emerge like automatically being adored, which is, that's such a weird concept to me too. Because in America, to get famous, a lot, unless you like know somebody big who's like sees your potential,
right,
a lot of them have to like claw their way to the top.
Oh, that's
and
what
they
you
kind
have
of
to do.
See the progression, right? And then in Korea, it's like all and this. I'm not saying it's easy by whatever means. It's more of a psychological thing. where it's like
just different.
Yeah, where it's like basically the stipulation is get through school, get through the boot camp. If you're good enough, you're automatically famous. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of the people that are really good, some of them never debut just because they weren't selected. They were probably, you know, every time a group is formed, like the group BTS or the group, any group that came out, they're put together by people who are looking for a formula. They're saying, okay, which member is going to be the rapper? Okay, we need a lead singer. We need someone who is this, that, and the other thing. We need a lead dancer, lead visual. And I know that there's exceptions to that, like Blackpink. But with Blackpink, they didn't bring 4 rappers. They specifically pick the ratios they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Of
you know,
course.
there's always a formula they're looking for. So it's not the members even's decisions. It's a completely different thing. It's almost like the way military is in the U.S. That's kind of the way that like the music scene is over in Korea. It's a completely different scene. I don't know. I had some initial rejection of that, like when I first learned about it, because I was thinking, oh, that's not right. Like they need to be in charge of everything they're doing. They need to write their own music. They need to be writing their own dance or whatever. And I'm thinking that doesn't even happen here. It happens in the beginning. But, like, is Drake writing all of his songs now? Like, Taylor Swift writing all of her chord progressions? And no, she has sound engineers doing all that.
And you know, it's one of those things that I've thought about a lot where I'm thinking, of course, you know, you always want your artist to write their own music. But it gets to the point where if they're trying to get bigger and bigger, it's almost like they move up in their own musical company. And by that I mean, first, they start off doing the you know, the handiwork where they have to write the lyrics, they have to do all this, and then they kind of move up where now it's like, okay, now they're kind of managing their brand, and they have writers for their brand. They kind of transform from individual people and become a sensation or their own idea that people follow.
So like G-Dragon,
that's
like
an idea.
He's been with YG since he was like 9, since he was 12. He was super young when he was with them training. Yeah. And eventually, you know, him he did solo stuff, debuting and Big Bang, that becoming massively popular on the international scale. Eventually got into the point that he had his own solo debut, very successful.
Yep.
And after that, he kind of became his own entity, you know, his own market, and he is their cash cow. They have a couple other, you know, obviously very, very lucrative.
He was one
groups.
of the first earlier ones than what we have now.
Very Still early. Is. So he's almost like he's like a real. I don't know what the word is. He's like an Opa there. He's like he's walking around. I feel like he could do what he wants. He has a lot more creative freedom. He has a lot more freedom in general, probably because of how much money he's made them, how long he's been there.
He's a veteran celebrity. I mean, it's funny. I talk a lot about this in my one G-Dragon album review video, where I basically go into saying how G-Dragon is more than just a person. He is just G-Dragon. Like that's it.
Yeah, it's an idea.
G-Dragon is G-Dragon. And when you think of him, you don't just think of that person behind it. You think of everything that comes with it. You think of his music videos, his lyrics, all the obsessing that you do if you're a fan.
Larger than life.
Oh yeah, and he knows it. It must be weird, like for someone like that, realizing that they are no longer themselves. They are this team, this thing bigger than just a single person.
Yeah, and it's a double life because himself as a person, as an individual, that's not who he is. He's a different person. Just like you and I in front of the camera, that's not the way we are 24/7.
No.
We're trying to be as energetic as we can. We're trying to think as quickly as we can. We're trying to be entertaining and funny and all these things all at the same time because the camera's on. We're not like that when we're just binge watching SpongeBob late at night.
Yeah, binge watching like, SpongeBob or Kentaro.
It doesn't have Kentaro. It's not happening. That it's just you're being the best you can be, kind of like a first date. You know what I mean? Like you're being the best you can be because the whole world's watching you. Everyone would do that. No one's the same as they are on camera as they are off.
Yeah.
I love the way you put it once, saying you're being the hyperbole of yourself. You're being the extreme whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And just like when you go back to thinking of that G-Dragon being that single person, that's like a weird thought where it's like everybody on your team, of course they love you and stuff, you know, they're there for you, but you've probably had many people on the G-Dragon team who joined after he was a celebrity. They're only becoming acquainted with like the idea version of himself. They're not becoming acquainted with the one G-Dragon who has like maybe a hidden love of cooking a specific food
Right.
or has an interest in like an American basketball team or anything like that. They're looking to make sure that this brand, this idea of G-Dragon has the most success and that they are worth being on that team to ensure that success.
Yeah, and that image is something he'll never be able to shake the rest of his life. And
Yeah.
that's one of those things people have asked me, and they've asked you in our live streams. They'll say like, "Would you ever date a fan?" You know, even one of our fans. We don't have half as many fans. We never will as much as you guys. But you know, with our YouTube channels, would you ever date a fan? And a lot of times, what I'll think of immediately is, I don't know if I could, because they wouldn't look at me the way that just someone I met serendipitously, like someone I just met happenstance, you know, just some random person.
Right. And there's always the chance where, you know, they could eventually, hopefully, would start to learn about you. But there's always that weird, for me anyway, there's always that weird thought where it's like, I get it, but they only started talking to me because of this like celebrity, whatever we call ourselves, celebrities, like the, you know, the low level YouTube celebrities we are. But because of that, like if they met me on the street and we started talking and I said exactly the same things, would they still be into me? And
Perspective.
yeah, for me, that's always in my head. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I don't think I could.
That's everything, you know, how you're perceived, how people are perceiving you. And
Right.
that's just it. Like, even when I talk to someone for the first time, you know, I go on a couple dates, I don't even want to talk about my YouTube channel until a little bit later, you know, because I don't want that to just shake the way things are going. I don't want to get past
pretty
that.
intimidating too, to be
It's
honest.
gotta
It's
be.
not like, it's like for you, it's like, hey, I'm an engineer, but I do this thing where I have at least like, you know, a decent amount of people who watch my videos. And it's like, what do you do for a living, person I'm on a date with?
Right.
Like, you know?
Right, exactly. So it's just one of those things. I don't want that to overshadow every other one of my features or my personality traits, you know, that aren't as.
Or those beautiful green eyes.
Yeah, I just don't want that to take center stage, because it's only just part of my life.
Right. It's always crazy though. I don't know how they do it. I mean, you have people like Justin Bieber, and the reason half the reason he's kind of like a piece of garbage is because he was a little kid and he just became famous, so he just grew up with power in a sense, you know, money, fame,
that's
and power.
tough. I can't ever, like, I'll make little judgments if he pisses me off, because I can be a judgmental person. I'll be like, oh, that guy's such a D-bag. But the dude was like 12 years old when he started getting that international recognition. Like, do you know what that does to you growing up? Like, how do you mentally and just develop normally during something like that? There's not even a case study out there to follow famous people throughout that. There's no psychology class that teaches you how to encounter these problems.
Have you seen the Where Are They Now for Disney actresses and actors?
Oh, man.
The success to failure rate at like after 25 is
bad.
really sad.
We're not meant to be viewed by millions of people at once. Like, it's just, our brains aren't meant to work like that. It's just,
Maybe 7 at most. 7 people at one time can just view us as like a human.
it's just the pressure alone. Like, for example, most people know what it's like to have an event coming up, whether it's like they're attending a wedding or they're going to picture day at school or whatever it is, and you're thinking more about your physical appearance than normal. You're thinking like, oh, I really hope that Zico is away by next week, or oh, I need to get a haircut, I need to, you know, blah, 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 I need to shave. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to prepare for that. Now imagine that's every day of your life before you turn on the camera, before you leave your apartment or your house. Like, every day, you're going to have tens of thousands of people watching you. That's like a level of stress that I don't even know is right for people to have to deal with. So it's a double-edged sword. Fame is a whole double-edged sword, and we could talk about that for hours if we wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's one of those things. But
Oh, do you want to end it here?
well, I'm not sure.
We go in 37 minutes. What did we talk about? We talked
pretty
about like the strike apocalypse. We talked about what it's like to be an idol. I don't know. How would we know? We're just looking on the outside.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of just jumping the gun, just trying to, testing out this first podcast. I mean, I've been having fun just chatting.
This is fun. Yeah, I mean, it's just because we're just going organically with the way we normally talk.
Yeah, and the thing is it's not like we may be talking about like, the music industry with K-pop now, but who knows? We may just tangent about just other things in our lives. Like
Anything.
I mean, we did have like a business letter or lesson tangent over there in the middle of that convo.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We've done K-Talk before, and K-Talk was a separate channel we had where we actually had our faces on. We were like a live stream.
Yeah.
And we would interact with the audience as they were texting questions or messaging.
Yeah, which was really cool, but the one thing is the preparation for that was really, really annoying.
It's a lot.
I know it's a lot, but I don't think we ever had like a smooth going pre-show.
We didn't.
Every single one was plagued with something going wrong.
And we probably could have eventually figured it out, but who's going to do what when? What frequency are we going to do it on?
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff to do, especially when we have our own channels and our own full-time jobs on top of that, and our own social lives. It's too much to do. So you got to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, so we're just kind of chatting. I mean, I feel like at some point we can try to incorporate like a chat kind of thing, maybe some questions that we can just have that are, that fans ask that we just answer on the show or something. But like normally like right here would be where we have like an advertiser plug, like this podcast is brought to you by
Febreze, because it reeks in here. Yeah. I don't know. It just, you could do that. I feel like an easy thing, because I'll hear that on podcasts. It's like the most seamless, like, oh, it was brought to you by Clorox. And it's like, okay, Clorox must have paid them to get that shout out. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's like, it could be like the 30-second blurb, or one of my favorite comedians, he does a podcast, and every time he reads like the advertising lines, he always would interject like his own things. Like if it was like, hey, this is the cleanest you'll ever get, he'd be like, that's not true at all. And stuff like that.
That's
and
hilarious.
They still love it. They love it because they realize that it's like engagement with his fans.
Yeah. No, that's the one thing you miss by pre-recording, like we're doing right now. So we might do most of this, and then maybe once in a blue moon we'll jump on live and do that. But this is not even a plan. It's not even like a thing that we're putting a lot of thought into. It's minimal as possible. That's the key. Minimalism.
That's how you get through life.
What was it, like Deadpool? He's like a minimum effort as he like falls off the cliff, or it's like, and at the end he's like maximum effort. I don't know if you've ever seen Deadpool, but that's like the line that constantly pops in my head. I'm thinking minimum effort. Like with everything with this.
Yeah. No, I understand. And it's true though, because like right now, you guys can't see it, but Josh and I are like in our like just like sports coat and sweatshirt. My lighting looks absolutely
out.
He is split. Oh my god, I didn't realize he's that split. No, it's just we're splayed out, but we're just kind of chatting, having fun, knowing that hopefully you guys like what we're doing. Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions for podcasts, let us know. What was that, Josh?
Where should we put this on our channels, or should we like put it on like a separate podcast website, like a site that has podcasts?
That'd be cool. Why don't we do both for now? Might
okay.
As well.
All right. I'm down.
And we could do like I don't know, like an alternating thingy for our channels. It's like you one podcast, me the other podcast, and we have it in a running playlist. We talked about that, and I think that would work. I mean, it would be great because it'll be like the first video on your channel in a while, because I'm totally okay with putting it on your channel first. I just posted my first video back yesterday.
I saw that. It was the
BTS J-Hope. Yep.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. How was
Actually,
it?
it's really it's his whole. I've reacted to his whole mixtape. I haven't put it up yet, but it's pretty good. It's actually
no complaints.
No, well, that could be for a review, but honestly, it's very creatively done, and because J-Hope of the three rappers, he's always been the goofball, and you can kind of get that vibe from him. But his lyrically, it's very clever, and it's I enjoyed most of it. I think once you listen to it, you will too.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm down. Let's continue this podcast thing and like get people's feedback. Like anyone that's still listening to this, congratulations. Like you made it through 42 minutes of us.
I think it's more like 30 minutes because we had, I think if you're looking at the Skype timer.
Right.
I'm looking at my OBS timer.
Because we started Skyping and we just were hanging out before we started this. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's recorded, but in the middle of this, the pizza came, and now I have a Brooklyn-style pizza sitting next to me. I am so hungry. I'm going to eat it.
You got to get to that, bro.
I will, but I don't want everybody listening to hear, like, that terrible, like...
You don't want to mukbang this?
Audio mukbang. It's like an ASMR mukbang. We're coming.
Yeah, I guess that's what it would be.
New grounds, dude.
It's only the audio you don't want.
Yeah, exactly. So you hear, like, the...
Oh, it's the worst.
That's so graphic. I gross myself out. I'm so sorry.
Dang. Okay, so let us know if you guys have any topics you want us to check out or talk about next time. The format, is definitely up for talking about and discussion. So if you're like, yo, I would really like to see your faces, or blah, 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 you just let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it going.
Yeah, really, this is just a way for Josh and I to talk and discuss things. And if you guys have any ideas that you want us to talk about, or you just like hearing our sultry voices, let us know.
And we also have absolutely no schedule, so this might be any day of the week.
It could be any day. Just be prepped, be subscribed, get ready, use it for material to listen to when you're doing your homework or something.
Yeah, you got a long morning commute or whatever it is, it's always there.
What were you listening to? Oh, 96.5. How about you? Oh, just the Josh and Akbar podcast. It's pretty exclusive.
They talk about K-pop.
Sometimes.
Oh, man. Sometimes. That's a great tagline. Josh and Akbar podcast. They talk about K-pop sometimes, in parentheses. I like it.
Oh, that's good. All right, well, since this is new and we're not sure how we're going to conclude this, I'm just going to go ahead and by saying thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast. If you have any more suggestions for anything you want us to talk about, let us know, I guess down below if this is going on YouTube.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know down below. I'm doing my outro hand motions right now as I'm doing this outro, and Josh is looking at me. I can't help it, I'm sorry. But let us know down below, and we'll hopefully get to it. And let us know of any other suggestions you want. You want to see our faces. Or what we can do to make this better.
I like how we've said the same outro like 5 times.
We said it like 5 times, and we're keeping all of it.
All right, guys, you take it easy. Peace out. Stay sexy.
Love you.